we live? We are live, people. I guess there were some technical difficulties. And
Hello.
I am joined by honorary fantasy shot caller in the house,
What's
Ambeezy
up?
O'Sheezy, member of the Live Las Vegas Leagues.
No, that's right.
Both of our crappy teams won this week, and we're going to dive right into a little sloppy Sundays.
That it
No
was.
Sundays this week, but let's get to first and foremost the Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And it was a blowout, people. Ben Roethlisberger, not one, but 2 picks, 1 touchdown. The leading rusher was Najee Harris for a low 23 yards. That's definitely his low on the week, or on the year, I'm sorry. But, I mean, I guess Najee Harris, man, this was a very disappointing game. And a lot of people had, the Steelers kind of giving some fight to the Bengals. What do you think about this game there, BZ?
First I want to thank Fantasy Football Network for letting us have our little space here. So thank you for that. This game, Deontay Johnson, man, just came out. I mean, it wasn't a good game, but at least he, pulled some teams, some owners, he got them some points, 95 yards, 9 receptions. But other than that, I mean, we're looking at a big goose egg,
Yeah.
So it was not what I thought it was going to be, though. I really did think that there was going to be a closer game, and then there was going to be more points for sure.
On the brighter side of things, number 28, starting running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Mixon on 28 carries, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He just showed you that he's that workhorse. And finally, T. Higgins, 6 receptions, 114 yards, 1 touchdown. I called it, baby. When we were talking about it on pre-show, you know what it is. Fantasy is life. Shot callers calling the shots, and T. Higgins really showed out today. Jamar Chase, slow decline, 3 receptions for 39 yards. Tyler Boyd is back on the milk carton. CJ Uzoma, you don't want to start him anymore. He was like a 3 or 4 week wonder. And, with that, I mean, Brandon Allen got a couple plays, 1 attempt, nothing.
Yeah,
But Joe
yeah,
Burrow
there wasn't
kind of
much people eating. Yeah, not many people eating really. Just a few. Mixon, Higgins, So, but yeah, I mean, just the whole game itself, though, it was a little rough,
yes,
to watch.
that it was. And it was an early blowout, too, because in the first half, the Bengals had like 31 points. It was crazy. Next is Dolphins winning at home, playing the Panthers. Cam Newton didn't really do much. He was supposed to, and we all know Ambeezy really wanted him to.
Sure did. I did have him starting in one league, thank God, not 2. And I don't know what I want to call that, if it was just ego or what coming out, but I know that McCaffrey rolled his ankle and he was out as well early. So I know that probably definitely took a blow to the squad. So
that's definitely something to look at for waiver wires. Stacking the studs, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Chuba Hubbard, if he was dropped in your league, you got to go put a claim in for Sheezy.
100%.
Cam Newton had a rushing touchdown, and that salvaged any day. He had DJ Moore had like wide receiver 3, high or low end wide receiver 2 numbers, 4 receptions, 103 yards. So he was really the only guy that did anything on the Panthers side. On the Dolphins side, though,
Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle really screwed me there, buddy. 9 receptions, 137 yards, and 1 touchdown. He was the leading wide receiver, really the only wide receiver to really get anything. Gesicki was pretty much a dud, 3 receptions for 17 yards. And Myles Gaskin, 16 carries, 49 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I do want to – oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I want to bring up the random tight end day. That's what I feel like today was. Random tight end throughout several teams. But Durham Smith, he ended up getting more carries and more targets than Gesicki.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the squads that I have listed here for today because it's wild. Random tight end day, we'll call it.
It really is. So moving on, and this is going to be dubbed the Toilet Bowl of the Week. The Philadelphia Eagles playing at MetLife, and the Giants won in really a showstopper. Haha, just kidding. It was pretty lame. Jalen Hurts, 3 interceptions, 129 yards. He was the leading rusher on 8 carries, 77 yards. Boston Scott, though, 15 carries, 64 yards, and a biscuit. Threw some gravy on that biscuit and called it a day. Leading wide receiver was, oh my God, Kenneth Gainwell, 3 receptions for 32 yards. Jalen Reagor actually strung together 2 receptions for not negative yards. Does that mean anything? No, it doesn't.
No,
what
sure
does
doesn't.
mean something, Devonta Smith, after some good weeks, but I kind of figured he was going to kind of get into that usage. The Giants were banged up. It was really a defensive game and not real much offense to really hope for. What do you think about us?
Well, I'm sorry. Well, I was going to say a question for you is what is your thoughts on Devonta Smith moving forward?
Say that question again. I think my internet cut out a little bit.
Yeah, Devonta Smith moving forward. What do fantasy owners? What should they start looking for playoffs? Somebody else? I mean,
right now he's probably a mid-tier flex play. I don't think he's entered the wide receiver 2 conversation yet. And so, I mean, if you're in 3 wide receiver leagues like we are, you kind of got to start him if you're, if you're going through some bye week, because we got another bye-pocalypse coming with the likes of Devontae Adams being on bye and some other wide receivers that, will be on your bench because of the bye week mayhem. So going forward, you kind of have to start him unless you have some better wide receivers.
Yes, heard.
And Saquon, though, I mean, 2 games, lackluster performances. Do we think this is injury or is it just the Giants' offensive scheme?
I really, I believe in Saquon, but I really do think that at least for fantasy owners, we need to, pump the brakes a little bit, maybe throw them in flex options. Obviously, with the Giants playing and performing the way that they are, I think that we need to cool our jets on thinking that he's going to have it's not even boom or bust at this moment. You know what I mean? So we got to take it easy and make sure we're making the right moves, especially going into playoffs in a couple weeks.
100%. Next, we have got a matchup in Foxborough. The New England Patriots took down the Tennessee Titans that have no offensive weapons, but they have a duo of running backs that each had over 100 yards. And going against a stout Patriots defense, this kind of speaks volume going forward and their attack as well. Dontre Hilliard, 131 yards, 12 carries, and a biscuit. Deontay Foreman, 19 carries, 109 yards. And let's see, Hilliard, only 1 catch for 2 yards, because everyone going into this that picked up Hilliard was probably thinking, and I think you definitely picked him up in at least one league.
Yes.
And I mean, thinking around that, I mean, my thinking was that he was going to get those pass catching opportunities. Was that what you were thinking, or just?
I'm not gonna lie, there was some desperation in that choice for me. So there's one that, but as well as, I mean, because obviously I lost Henry to injury, but I had faith in the fact that they're gonna have to run the ball. I knew that they were gonna have to run the ball, so I was just really relying on him being their workhorse, which he was. So.
And then going on to the other side of the ball, Mac Jones, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23 for 33 on pass attempts. And this was the game that he showed out. Also, Kendrick Bourne, 5 receptions, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns. Is he a must roster now after, a slew of games where he's actually showed out?
I think that he's an every other week. So it's an every other week boom or bust. So, I mean, it's really just keep your eye on who they're playing and check out the defenses that they're playing against, Yeah, it's scary.
Scary times in Foxborough. Damian Harris, 11 carries, 40 yards, and a touchdown. That touchdown salvaged any part of his day. Jacoby Myers, low-end wide receiver 2 numbers, 5 receptions, 98 yards. And the Patriots defense had about 14 points. So you always like to see that. 3 consecutive games where the Patriots scored over 10 points on the defensive side. Next, let's see. Oh, actually, nope, not that one. Let's go to this one. I'm going to stick with the sticker, but I'm going to put it up again. Toilet bowl of the week, the Falcons playing the Jaguars. The Falcons pulled this out on the road. Matty Ice didn't really do anything. 1 touchdown, 190 yards. Cordell Patterson, though, had 108 of those yards rushing, so he didn't receive really much. But 16 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, and it really shows that offense runs through him. And Russell Gage finally did something. He had about 18.2 points, if I'm doing that math right. 6 receptions, 62 yards, and a touchdown. This is exactly what we've been looking for since the beginning of the season, and it finally happened. So he's probably going to be a hot commodity on the waiver wire, but he's probably going to throw up 0 points next week.
I was going to say, do you think that he's going to eat now that they've got some lifeblood back in their system?
I mean, technically they're still in the playoff hunt because they are 5-6, but on the other end of it, they're just not good.
You might be hungry, guys, is what Donna's saying.
On the Jaguars side, though, there's life from Trevor Lawrence. He actually threw for over 200 yards this game.
Yes, 228 to be exact, but with a pick. So,
got to throw that in there. Obviously not, but sometimes
you got to trust the process, baby. You got to trust the process.
You got to trust it. And Trevor Lawrence, maybe this is a new Trevor Lawrence we're seeing. Probably not. James Robinson, 17 carries for 86 yards on the ground. Trevor Lawrence actually 5 carries for 39 yards. That's good. That's good, I guess. Good job, I guess.
I guess.
But leave it to the Jaguars to find a wide receiver that has no fantasy value and will probably have no fantasy value going forward. Laquan Treadwell, 4 receptions for 53 yards. The next is Marvin Jones Jr., big disappointment all year except for like 1 or 2 weeks. 4 receptions for 43 yards. And Dan Arnold went down, I think, early in the game. So,
right. And then Chanel owners, and I don't think that you're going to get very far with him either. So I think everybody should know that, but anybody who's reaching.
Exactly. Next brings us to the shot caller shootout of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Indianapolis Colts at home. Tom Brady didn't really have fantasy relevant numbers, 226 yards through the air, 1 touchdown. But, I'm gonna give you your flowers on this one.
Yeah, we're definitely going to go with Mr. Lenny Fournette. We've got 4 touchdowns, 100 rushing yards with 31 receiving yards for 40 points in fantasy relevancy. That man just showed up and showed out and helped me win 2 leagues or two games.
When you're drafting, you got to be smoother than that. You got to draft Lenny Fournette.
Fournette showed up and showed out. I mean, he almost had a Jonathan Taylor game this week. So
I mean, he basically did.
Yeah, That's true.
He had an Austin Eckler of last week game.
There you go. That's it.
And then Rob Gronkowski was the leading receiver, 7 receptions for 123 yards. And then Leonard Fournette is the next closest. And then so you got a dud from Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, both rounds, probably 4th or 5th round picks, and pretty disappointing week to week, even with Antonio Brown out still.
What about what are your thoughts on Ronald Jones moving forward? Do you think that he might get some targets, or we're gonna see Godwin and Evans jump back in obviously next week?
So I mean, let's see.
He ended up with 9.7 points.
So
he's available on 27%. Yeah,
37 yards. I mean, it probably attributes to just Leonard Fournette being a little tired.
For sure.
And they wanted to get him in there. They're probably, I don't know if he's in a contract year for to go other places in free agency, or maybe they're giving him some carries to try and trade him in the offseason, because Leonard Fournette going forward is definitely their lead back, and it's without a doubt a question. And speaking of lead backs, brings us to the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, 16 carries, 83 yards, and 1 touchdown. He didn't have obviously the game he did last week, but he was going against probably the best run defense in the league. So, I mean, he still scored a touchdown though. It's right. I mean, it's just crazy. And the reason why the Colts didn't win, and there was a sign at their home stadium where this old guy was holding it and was like, just run the damn ball. And they didn't do that. And Carson Wentz threw 2 interceptions. He did have 3 touchdowns at 306 yards.
Yeah.
But he was a little over 50% throwing for completions on attempts.
Let's talk about random tight ends again.
Yes. There we go.
Jack Doyle, tight end for Indy, came out of nowhere. He's I don't know if he's gonna eat again next week. I'm not sure. But I know he's 2%. He's, what's the word I'm looking for, Benny? Help me out here.
2% owned. 2% owned.
2% owned in all the leagues, but he went out for 20 points. That's a lot of food for him today.
Yeah.
So
he was 2% owned, and he was on his way out like spoiled milk.
Yeah, there you go.
So another guy, Ashton Dulin, 1 reception, 62 yards, 1 touchdown. But if you picked up T.Y. Hilton and needed a little prayer, he did have about 12.8 points in full PPR. So if you snagged him like I did, great. But I still lost in that league, so it doesn't matter. I went about 3-8 this week, so whatever. Unless Antonio Gibson can put up 26 points, which is possible, but highly doubtful. All righty. Next, oh man, it's just the week of toilet bowls, and that brings us, can you guess? The Jets
versus the Texans.
Jets, Jets. They won.
They
Lower
did.
draft position, but they won.
Right.
That's something to be excited about, but not really. Next, Zach Wilson, 145 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns, so he's really, him and Trevor Lawrence are going back to back, thinking, who could be the worst quarterback this week? Zach Wilson was, but Tevin Coleman, 16 carries for 67 yards, got the bulk of the carries, but Austin Walter looked electric. He looked like a little Michael Carter, 9 carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown. On the receiving side, Elijah Moore, kind of a disappointment. So, with Zach Wilson being at the helm again, I mean, you never know what you're going to get. Zach Wilson threw one of the worst interceptions in Jets history. I don't know what it is. I think the Jets are cursed at quarterback because Ty Johnson looked back, he looked forward and started blocking because he thought Zach Wilson was going to run. And then Zach Wilson was like, oh, look at me. I think I'm Patrick Mahomes, and tried to shovel pass it and just hit him in the back. It was like he was taking out the ball on the basketball court and trying to just disrespect the other team. And it was just.
I was wondering what happened to Ty Johnson this week, and that explains a lot. So,
yeah. Ty Johnson had 6 carries, 42 yards, and no receptions for no yards. So, Ty Johnson, not that great. The Jets, not that great. But the Texans, even worse.
Right.
David Johnson, 10 carries for 39 yards. Rex Burkhead got the bulk of the carries, even though he wasn't able to turn it into anything. 12 carries for 27 yards. Tyrod Taylor, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. They just didn't go back to Brandon Cooks as much as they should have because Brandon Cooks only had 3 receptions, 45 yards, and a touchdown. They should have kept feeding him, but, it's the Texans. Forget about it.
Yep, toilet bowl.
Brrr. Flush, flush, flush.
Yes, multiple times.
AFC West. Yeah, right. AFC West matchup. Nope. Chargers lose. The Broncos win. Pretty, Justin Herbert salvaged his day of 2 interceptions with 2 touchdowns, 303 yards through the air. He was the leading rusher. Jesus.
What's going on out there?
4 carries, 36 yards. This kind of speaks to the rookie coach and Brandon Staley, not really knowing much about the offensive side because he was the defensive coordinator for, I believe, the Rams last year. And Keenan Allen had 15.5 points, 7 receptions, 85 yards. Austin Eckler was the second leading receiver, 6 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. One of those interceptions went through Austin Eckler's hands. So it could have been a different game if that didn't happen, even though the throw was a little offline. And Josh Kelly had a 10-yard reception. That's about all he's going to do because he's not going to do anything else.
With them playing Cincinnati next week, what do you think that's going to produce? Do you think Herbert should obviously remain a starter? I mean, even though he looked like a hot mess today. That's all I really say.
Yeah, I mean, that whole offense really did. I think that will be a shot caller shootout that we'll be watching next week.
Pew, pew.
Pew, 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 pew. Mike Williams, you got what you paid for, people. He was like a 10th round pick. Now he's performing like it. Had some boom games. Now he's just busting. He's busting all over that field.
Yes, he is. It's not pleasant.
No.
No, Mr.
Bing
Peter.
bong. Bing bong. Teddy Bridgewater gets a win. He came in. He came out. Melvin Gordon, 17 carries, 83 yards. Javonte Williams got a biscuit, 14 carries, 54 yards. This is a true 50-50 split. But Javonte Williams was the leading. Cortland Sutton, what a disappointment. Jerry Jeudy, a disappointment. Tim Patrick, a disappointment. Everyone just a disappointment. Javonte Williams, 3 receptions, 57 yards. He was the leading point getter for this Broncos offense. And, Broncos win.
Crazy.
These afternoon games have been just so disappointing because you got the Cardinals the past couple weeks just playing with like half of their team, still coming out with the wins. Like no one wants to watch Colt McCoy throw the ball because he doesn't do much of that.
Right.
And James Conner.
They've been in some intense to watch. Like I mean, I didn't think that game Denver Chargers was going to turn in what it did. I really wish that I was able to watch San Fran and
me too.
I'm like having a brain fart. Minnesota. Watch that, but they won't let us watch that over here on the West Coast. So
don't you know? Even though it was on the West Coast, which makes no sense. It was
crazy.
In Santa Clara. So speaking of which, let's go to that game. The Vikings lose in Santa Clara, which I called as well on the Fantasy Shotcallers. You should be listening to the Fantasy Shotcallers every Tuesday. We coming out, baby. Spotify, Apple, Google, Frugal, Verbal, Amazon. You know what it is. Fantasy is life. Lugal, Frugal. And speaking of frugal, if you spent money on your fantasy leagues, you should be listening to us because we'll help you propel you to fantasy greatness. Fantasy is life. It's a vibe. So anyways, 34-26. The 49ers beat the Vikings at home. Kirk Cousins, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Justin Jefferson threw the ball for 24 yards. Dalvin Cook got carted off. It's the week of the handcuffs, the highest rostered handcuffs in the league. So Alexander Mattinson did score a touchdown after Dalvin Cook went down, I believe. Justin Jefferson, 4 receptions, 83 yards. But the real story here is Adam Thielen, 5 receptions, 62 yards, and 2 biscuits. He put 2 biscuits on the plate, spread some gravy on that ish, and then, season it with some parsley and was like, sprinkle some parsley and get the F out.
Yeah, Salt Bay.
What's up, Jan? How we doing? How we feeling? How we living? Thanks for tuning in. As always, my man, let us know any,
questions,
Things you gotta say,
concerns, comments, we're
comments.
here.
You know what it is. Fantasy is life, and I definitely know you know.
Mhm.
So on, let's see. So yeah, I mean, Tyler Conklin didn't really do too much. 2 receptions, 25 yards. Let's go to the 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo, 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But the real story here, 2 running backs and 1 running back he didn't think was going to be a running back at the beginning of the year. Debo Samuel, 6 carries, 66 yards, averaging 11 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. What's happening?
That
This is the
bonkers.
weirdest fantasy season,
years.
in my
Yeah.
opinion, in years. Elijah Mitchell had a mother-loving day. 27 carries, 133 yards, and a biscuit. Brandon Ayuk was the leading receiver, 3 receptions, 91 yards. This team is going to be scary trying to get into the playoffs.
They're thirsty. They're really
They are.
thirsty.
And the
And they're
thing
ready.
I've been talking about is Kyle Shanahan really knows how to play call and really control the clock.
Right.
Jan
Well,
Jamar,
yeah, you got it.
another bad week, giving up on him a little. What's your take? I've been talking about this for a while now. Jamar Chase is in his rookie slump, and I told people to start T. Higgins over him if you had him in the same league or in the same lineup, so to speak. And because T. Higgins really had a day, and he's still that wide receiver 1 because the target share that he gains, it's like Jamar Chase. It's kind of like a Mike Williams. You're going to get a lot or you're going to get a little. You're going to get a lot or you're going to get a little.
I was like, where's the medium at? Can we just work with mid-range?
Yeah. There's no mid-range because we're not
So
talking about basketball.
Right. As a Chase owner though, right? Like let's say we're this close to the end of the season. I mean, it's like who can you pick up that's going to salvage your team with the points that he was putting up at one point? You know what I mean?
I mean, with those kind of points, I don't. It's
not possible.
No, I mean, unless you had T. Higgins too, and you were just kind of swapping them in and out.
Right. That would have been
but
smart.
yeah, I mean, smart, yes, kind of, maybe. Who
Strange.
knows? Yeah, strange at the same time.
Yeah, right. All right.
Yeah. What's happening? Cool. So I'd say probably the game of the week and huge fantasy implications. The Rams lose to the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. The Green Bay Packers are Amber's favorite team, and she loves Aaron Rodgers. I'll let you talk about this one a little bit.
All right. So I'm going to talk about the Rams first because I love talking about Green Bay so much. But Matthew Stafford, 302 yards with 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He performed. He did well. Obviously, 1 pick. I think that they ended up getting OBJ some carries like they said they were going to. OBJ and Cup matched for targets. But OBJ's five receptions, 10 targets, 81 yards, but 54 of those yards were for a touchdown. So, you have to count that for OBJ's points. But Cooper Kupp unmatched. You know what I mean? I mean, granted they had the same amount of targets, but 7 for 10. I don't have his yardage with me. I think you might.
96.
96, yeah, 96 yards. I mean, Cooper Kupp is always ready to perform. He shows up in place, and him and Stafford. I think.
Yeah, also Van Jefferson had 18.3 points in full PPR. As a flex option, wide receiver 3 option, that's exactly what you want. That's like the perfect storm right there. Darrell Henderson, 55 yards and 16 carries. Had 4 receptions, 18 yards. So,
Oh. I'm missing you. Where are you? You're missing. I lost you, Benny. All right. Well, we have a temporary loss on the shot caller, and he was actually speaking of, I think everybody's eating on the Rams. Obviously, they did lose, but it was a matchup of the week. So for Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. He had a wonderful game. Let's see. We lost Benny. He should be back in just a second. A.J. Dillon ended up showing up and showing out. I don't have all of the, Jan, we're going to go to your question. If AB comes back, where do we see him fitting into Bucs?
I don't know what happened.
There he is.
Strange.
That's all right. So we were in the middle. I was just about to talk about Aaron Rodgers, but I was gonna answer Jan's question for him. So if AB comes back next week, where do we see him fitting into Bucs offense, and will he return to that elite usage? Oh,
I cut out again, I think.
there you
But
go.
I'm
You're
back.
good. I
I'm
got you. Go
back.
ahead. Yeah, answer
But
that out.
yeah, AB comes back next week, and he is that wide receiver one, 100%. He is that key to that Bucs offense. The old guys are really showing what they can do in Gronk and AB because Tom Brady has the most rapport with them, I believe. Yeah, because he played with AB at the end of the season last year, and yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely think I agree with you on that. I think that he's he's number one all the way once he's back and healthy. So let's go back into Green Bay. I was gonna let you drop Aaron Rodgers stats because I love talking
Okay.
about them so much.
He was pretty inconsistent with just being able to complete passes, 28 for 45, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they were neither to Devontae Adams, which kind of hurt Devontae Adams owners being a top 2 or 3 draft pick or top 2 or 3 round draft pick. AJ Dillon was the lead carrier in this game. Aaron Jones is still a bit banged up, I think. So AJ Dillon had a game, I believe, 20 points. And let's see, Randall Cobb, 4 receptions, 95 yards and a touchdown. He was the favorite for Aaron Rodgers, other than Devontae Adams. But Randall Cobb did go down with an injury. So yeah, I'm kind
Wait,
of
who
glad he
went down
did
with an
because
injury? What did I
Randall
miss?
Cobb, Randall Cobb,
Oh,
I believe.
okay.
I think.
Okay. No, I think you're right, but I think I must have missed that towards the end of the game.
But yeah, I mean, and the Packers defense was good against the Rams offense, and Jalen Ramsey just got beat again.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest
Absolutely.
story here. They acquired Von Miller. I mean, they've had Jalen Ramsey for a couple years now, so it really begs like, what are we doing here?
Right, exactly. I agree with you. I think that who's Green Bay playing next week? I didn't check that out, but
They're on a bye.
Oh yeah, they are on a bye, so they get a nice rest, and then the Rams they got to keep coming out and performing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these defenses they need to step their game up and really and check their play calling.
Yeah.
And watch who they're playing against because Green Bay's not nothing to mess with right now.
No, they are not. Jan, how concerned are you about Najee? Oh man, they got to get back to their scheme of checking it down to Najee because obviously this whole throwing it down the field isn't working out too well because Ben is old, and Ben is old, and Ben is old.
And it's old.
Yeah. So with Najee going forward, I think it was a dud. Just an off performance for him because every fantasy player has it from time to time. So I wouldn't be too worried with him going forward.
I think he's a great player. I think that I don't think they're utilizing him as well as they should, and I don't think that's his fault. So
not at all.
Yeah.
All right, going to the last one of Sunday. Wow, we got through this pretty quick. It is another. Let's see. Let me hide this.
That game.
Another toilet bowl of the week. I got to get that soundbite on my MIDI board.
Oh, I thought you had it. I was like, am I just not hearing it?
I have it. I have it. Just I haven't plugged it into my MIDI board.
Right, got it.
So Baker, 18 for 37, super inconsistent. He's banged up. I mean, I got to give it to Baker though. Like even though they lost, I mean, kudos to you, man. You're going out there. You're fighting for your team every single game. You're not backing down. He is turning into one of the toughest MFers in this league with just how he's able to go out there, game in, game out, injured, like knee, like foot, shoulder, brain, head, OBJ.
Right.
Everything's just weighing him down.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Knees and toes. Is he still an elite RB1? Najee Harris, he's talking about? Yes. Yeah, he is.
100%.
For sure. And then let's see. Did Kittle also just have a dud week? Yeah. I mean, I don't know why they weren't looking to him too much. But going forward, I don't see that happening week in, week out. George Kittle is a stud. He showed it a little bit here and there, but honestly, he's probably dealing with some sort of just ailment from the injury from last year because it kept him out from a lot of games, and it kept him out from, a good amount of games this year too.
And I will say a lot of the elite players are getting less targets because I really feel that they're trying to. I mean, obviously, you need to win games now to get into the playoffs. But with so many injuries this year, I really think that people are concerned generally, like genuinely for their health. Like, I think that the coaches, are kind of looking out for some of their players, knowing that they can utilize some of the other backup and secondary.
Yeah. And this year is really just showing that COVID really affected all the conditioning that didn't happen last
Yes.
year. And so everyone just kind of had to be put on the field. And I expected all the injuries to happen last year, but
Right.
maybe it was just a more lingering effect. Lingerers hate lingerers.
Linger.
Can't linger. Don't linger. Never linger. Just win your games so you can move on. So Baker, tough dude. Kareem Hunt was the leading rusher.
Yeah.
7 carries for 20 yards. Nick Chubb, 8 carries for 16 yards. This is the reason why they lost the game. This is the reason right here that they lost the game. They have the dual threat back, but they were trying to move it down the field so much with Baker throwing the ball. They should have just been small yardage here. They weren't down. Like, the Ravens scored 16 points. All right?
Right.
16 points. So
Yeah,
there
it
was
wasn't a
no
blowout.
there was
Yeah.
no reason for anything to happen. Jarvis Landry had, he was a good recipient. If you started him this week, full PPR, 17.1 points, 6 receptions, 111 yards. Harrison Bryant, 3 receptions, 50 yards. He got injured at towards the beginning of the game, I believed, and wasn't able to come back. David Njoku scored the lone touchdown for the Browns,
Oh, yeah,
and
speaking of.
yeah.
Speaking of, no, you and I were talking about that, and I'm like,
No, I
where's
remember.
he been? And all of a sudden I was like, oh, hey, I do wonder about that call, but that's neither here nor there. But what do you say about all these turnovers?
I
What do
don't
you say
know.
about that? Is that defense? Do we say that that's on defense, or do we say that's just messy offense?
It's just messy offense. It's super sloppy. Lady, you're scaring us. So with whatever happened in the last 2 minutes of the first half just was atrocious on both sides of the
Mhm.
field. And I think that's just lackluster play from the offense of the Browns. And, uh, I guess Lamar Jackson's illness, really came back to bite him in the buttocks.
Mhm.
Uh, so I think he was just kind of trying to get his groove down, just trying to get this game out of the way. And Myles Garrett really disrupted him on the offensive side. Really,
Agreed.
that whole D line did. And I mean, the secondary is nothing to gawk at either for the Cleveland Browns. Um, I mean, like, if you look at it, there's Greg Newsome II, who was highly touted out of college. Denzel Ward, who's a top 5 or top 10, if not top 5, a corner as well. And just these guys. Jadeveon Clowney went down a little bit early, but I don't know if he came back. But Myles Garrett and John Johnson were just really wreaking havoc on the offensive side of the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay. Right on. Um, brain fart. Never mind.
Mark Andrews, 4 receptions, 65 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, he is a top 3, if not top 2. I think. Do we move him ahead of Waller now?
I say we move him ahead of Waller. I mean, he's been more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but
well, I mean, all these are pretty much opinions.
yeah, that's
You
true.
just gotta look at you just look at this. You look at the facts, and then you make those
And
opinions.
then if you formulate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Fantasy is life. It's a vibe.
Hashtag.
All right. Well, that was a dumpster fire of a Sunday night game. No one wants to watch that over again. So, what do we take? I think tomorrow, Monday Night Football, is going to be a high-flying offensive game. Two
Agreed.
teams that have some good offensive elite players, and then some not too great defensive players. Who do
And
you
both
have? Seahawks
teams.
or football team at home?
Oh, something tells me that football team's going to pull it out. I
Really?
think they both have something to prove, but I think that there's I don't know, there's something in me maybe somebody's mom, is graduating from college. Inside
There's
joke,
something
sorry
in the
guys.
air.
There's something
something
in
in
the
the
air.
air.
But at home, I think they've got something to prove. I think that I don't know. I think everybody's really, really hungry. I don't know.
On
We'll see.
the wide receiver side of the Seahawks, who has a better day, Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf?
DK Metcalf. I think Metcalf's going to pull out. I think that he's got something to show this week as well.
I agree. He's had a couple duds.
Yep.
And also, Tyler Lockett had his good game last week. He probably won't have that good game this week.
100%. That's what I was going to say. It's up or down. But Wilson, I mean, what do we think Wilson's going to pull out of the bag?
I think he'll finally be 100% healthy.
Yeah.
So with that, that's why I think the Seahawks are going to win. But at the same time, I hope he puts up a great performance and loses because the Jets have their first round pick this year. So
I'm with you on that then. And I'm not playing Russell Wilson this week, so we're good.
Good. Washington football team, I need Antonio Gibson to, let me reload this page.
Or not. That's cool too.
No. Antonio Gibson needs to get me 26 points. It's possible. We'll see what happens. He can turn into that run RB1 in my flex. That would be great. That would be grand. That would be wonderful. Everyone on the bus, let's go. Shout out to the late Chris Farley.
Yes.
But yeah,
it's gonna
sloppy
be an interesting
Sundays.
game. Today was sloppy.
It's gonna be a sloppy Monday. It's always sloppy on Sundays because there's something sloppy to talk about.
And if you guys haven't checked it out, go back and check out Ben getting covered in an ice cream sundae last week for 1,000 subscribers on where we're at right now, Fantasy Football Network, who allows us to have this space so we can cry and laugh and speak on things that we may or may not know about.
100%. So tune in 9:00 every Sunday. I'd like to thank Ambeezy Foshizi, the honorary shot caller. Yeah, anytime. And so, this is Sloppy Sundays. Huh?
I said, Jan, thanks, Jan, for chiming in.
Yes, my dude. He's like my day one follower. He's my guy. So with that, fantasy is life. It's a vibe. See you next week. But hopefully see you on Stacking the Studs, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in. Fantasy greatness. You know what it is. It's a vibe. Peace.
Pew, pew, pew.